Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Bodhi. I'm a research scientist at the Allen Institute for AI. I'm leading the data driven discovery effort under the bigger project we name as ASTA, which is building scientific agents for scientific discovery.
There has been an incredible number of people that are interested in this subject at NeurIPS compared to last year. I've really noticed a massive uptick in the number of folks who have become true believers. So what was your moment that you really chose to work on this, and what inspired it?
It's kind of very interesting. When I sort of started thinking this as a problem, I thought that, okay, would even machine learning community care about this? Because what is even scientific discovery? What's the machine learning task? So what we did in early 2024, we wrote a position paper in ICML in one of the very first position paper tracks that the conference has started. And we sort of tried to argue for sort of forming scientific discovery as a predictive task, or you could call it like a heuristic search task,
Yeah.
where you have a scope, let's say a data set, and you are just searching for a hypothesis. Only few of the hypotheses are actually a discovery. There are lots of hypotheses which are true but not interesting. Similarly, if your scope is in literature, you're looking for ideas. Many of the ideas are like not interesting. You can form an idea combining paper A and paper B, but may not be interesting. So it's sort of like a heuristic or like a search problem, to be specific. And then we argue that why and why not language models are a good tool to solving this problem. So that's kind of the start, I would say. And I have been mainly focusing on data driven discovery and generating hypotheses from datasets, because apparently in CS, even beyond CS, there are like numerous number of scientific fields that every day deal with datasets, large amount of datasets, and majority of their work has been dealing with finding mining patterns from these datasets, and we thought that maybe I could help.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit about the Allen Institute.
So we are a nonprofit research institute sitting in the heart of the North Lake in Seattle, very close to University of Washington.
So you're very happy that you have better weather on this trip than you would normally be enjoying?
Well, I was just telling that I spent 5 years in San Diego. I did my PhD in UC San Diego. San Diego is still my favorite, but I think AI2 is a fantastic institute. Sort of like allowed me get into the core of the problem, and not like just building an agent for like a production purposes or like for a for-profit cause. You really have to understand what the scientific problem is, and what are the innovations, what are the AI innovations that you could do to solve this problem, like the problem of science, which I find pretty cool. And we've been very fortunate then also like working with collaborators, other non-profit collaborators, universities, hospitals, and so on and so forth, who have been helping us sort of like taking the solutions that are building actually to the real life, which is I think is a great moment personally for me.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really nice fit because so many of the institutions that govern so much of that research are also not-for-profits. And to see them have to go to a for-profit lab to get that work done would be a real shame because it undermines the ethos.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it also sort of echoes our sort of motto, our institute motto, which is like openness. Okay, we can use AI in different shapes and forms, but why is it working? Can we open up the full pipeline? And for solving science, it's probably one of the most important things that you would like to really open up what's happening behind the scene. Even if you're automating some or the full part of the pipeline, you have to really gain the trust of the scientists who are probably had the right amount of skepticism about believing everything. So openness actually has become really a key, and it's very cool because I feel like using AI, you could also think about like you can change the way reproducibility is done in science. You could use AI to sort of automatically reproduce results and see what can be reproduced or what can be not. So that's also another form of transparency. That's sort of an outcome, not in the source, that AI is not open, but AI is making things more open and more transparent to the scientists, which is, I think, also pretty cool.
For that ecosystem to thrive, what other tooling needs to be made for scientists? And I know this is a very contentious problem for engineers, scientists collaboration, but what tools would you see would be important to the rest of this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think as we are learning, I think scientists are also learning, and I would say that thanks to sort of this like LLM wave, because they now, like in 2 to 3 years after it started, they sort of realize the potential. They have been playing around with this tool that are publicly available. So they sort of understand that, okay, this could actually move the needle for real. And they have been thinking, actually, they're very smart, of course.
Of course.
So they have been, I was very surprised when I talked to them. They have been building sort of AI-ready tools on their own already without even knowing that there would be an AI scientist which could use that tool, which makes some of our problem like really easy. Very easily we can collaborate with them. And it's also a learning process, I guess. Like as we learn different new domains, because I'm a computer scientist, I know nothing about neuroscience. Equally, like a neuroscientist is willing to understand how an AI system works. So it's a very like a symbiotic process, I would say. We're just learning from each other. I think tooling is a very important part, as well as like domain knowledge. Lots of domain knowledge are literally like institutional, or what I call like a tribal knowledge. It's not written anywhere.
Yep.
Or in the notebooks, not digitized. So which is a very interesting problem also to tackle, but going to be like one of the key things that I think we should be thinking about or solving about when we think about AI cross science.
Where do you see this work going next year?
I think I'm very, very excited about the possibilities. I mean, I know other people are working in the community, but I know at least in our institute, like the work that I would present in NeurIPS called Auto Discovery, we have been already trying this across 7 domains, like disparate domains, starting from like economics to neuroscience to hydrology to ecology and whatnot. And we have been finding that, okay, it's not probably right off the bat giving us the discoveries, but it's really pushing the needle in a way that's meaningful for the scientists. In some cases, some scientists are saying that, okay, this is already publishable. Sometimes they're saying, this is not publishable, but I can see where it's going and I can take this forward now. It sort of like helps me to sort of crunch down 6 months of work, which is very fascinating, right? Mm-hmm. So like my dream would be, I don't know when that will happen, to be able to sort of publish leading papers in the leading journals in these fields, mm-hmm. where I could claim that, hey, maybe 50 or 80% of the results was actually driven by an AI system. So that would be my sort of like moment of truth, that the community itself are sort of accepting those kind of work that was driven by the system that we have built coming from a different community. And I think that would be like the moment of truth. I don't know if that'll happen in this year, but I think that's my North Star.
Hey, if you're working on something that you're sure is going to happen, it's probably not ambitious enough.
There you go. But yeah, it's very exciting.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your history with NeurIPS.
Fun thing is that this is my first NeurIPS, which is very funny because I've been into all NLP conferences, all other machine learning conferences, but I had papers before at NeurIPS, but this is my first time I'm attending a NeurIPS. I have heard that in last couple of years, it sort of changed.
Yes.
In terms of scale and sort of like flavor, which I can already see. So I'm very excited to meet new people. Also, a little bit of background. I was traditionally like an NLP student during my PhD. So I really like after my PhD, after joining AI2, I started going into these machine learning conferences, and I find it extremely rewarding because I can see like sort of disparate ideas coming up from like different subfields, and talking to other researchers is super helpful. So I'm equally looking forward to that, and hopefully a lot more buzz around AI cross science.
Awesome. Well, just before we close out, I'd love just to talk to you a little bit about where people can help this project along.
I think that's a good question. I think if I think about the AI community in general, I think really thinking about what's the core AI problem is something that's very challenging. We sort of often think solving this problem from a system point of view. Okay, let's build an AI system that actually works, which is fantastic, the right goal. But if you think about from an AI research point of view, then we really need to think about what's the research problem.
Yes.
And I feel like that's really a win-win situation, because the way it's kindly working, if it works, that you talk to the domain scientists, find a domain problem, convert that to an AI research problem, you solve it without knowing anything about the domain, and put it back to the domain, and it works. That's the best case scenario. Maybe there aren't many such best case scenarios, or there might be some scenarios where you have to like tweak it a little, and maybe need to know a little bit more about the domain, or make it a little bit bespoke to make it work for a domain. But I think that's fine. But we should have that attitude, that we should be able to, talking to the domain scientist, really trying to understand and abstract it out, so that now we can sort of solve it as a machine learning problem. That would be sort of, I feel like from an AI researcher's point of view, I think that should be our focus.
A machine that can not only solve your economics problems, but also your hydrogeology problems.
Exactly.
The dream.
The dream.
Okay, thanks very much. Anything else you want to say before we call off?
No, I mean, thank you for organizing this. This is a fantastic effort. We should do this more.
Such a pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.